Leili and Majnun. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Having drunk a little of his tea, Said Amri kindly told Leili's father what he was there for. He also told Leili's father not to worry about any expenses they had for the marriage, for he was rich, and that money was not a problem. After a long pause, Leili's father said, I'm quite aware how rich and generous you are. I'll be more than willing to give my daughter to your son when he stops wandering about here and there and settles down like everybody else. You've heard what everyone says about him. Teach him how to act more wisely, especially in public first. Then we can talk about marriage and the rest. Said Amri couldn't argue anymore. Returning home tired and disappointed, he had a long talk with Majnun. Why should we go and look for a girl from other tribes when we have plenty of nice ones ourselves? Said Amri said. Majnun was in love, but he was not stupid. When he found out he was rejected, he got mad and began to tear up his clothes and then ran away from home. He ran toward the mountains. No one could stop him. He spent the whole day in the mountains crying. His parents got worried. They tried to find him, but all they could see in the mountains was wild beasts and poisonous snakes. Majnun felt worse day by day and became more and more hopeless. He didn't return home. He roamed in the mountains and shouted Leili all the time and composed love poems for being apart from her. When he came down from the mountains, lots of people gathered round to look at him and listen to his beautiful love poems. Sometimes he got really angry with them and shouted, Leave me alone for God's sake, as you don't know what I'm going through. Stop bothering me. I'm lost. I don't know what really my fault is except being guilty of love. Then he turned his eyes toward the sky and continued talking to his beloved Leili. I beg you to get me out of this pit I've fallen. Take my hands and lift me up. Be kind to me. The people watching him felt pity on him and cried. One of the people would often take him back to his tribe and hand him to his parents. His parents were helpless. They didn't know what to do. The only thing they could do was to pray to God day and night. His relatives were very upset too. They were trying to help Majnun somehow. One day they went to Said Amri and suggested taking Majnun to Kaaba, the cloth-covered cubic structure which is Islam's most sacred shrine in Mecca. Said Amri welcomed the idea. He convinced Majnun to go with him on a pilgrimage to Mecca. Kaaba was Said Amri's last resort. He hoped that everything would go back to normal after he came back from Mecca. They traveled for months to get to Mecca. When Majnun's father saw Kaaba, he said, This is the place where all your dreams come true. Ask God to let you free of all the sorrow and misfortune caused by love. When Majnun heard the word love, he cried for a long time and then started laughing. He stepped a little closer to Kaaba, raised his arm toward it as if he were talking to God, and said, I'm the one who's ready to give his life for love. I'll die if I'm not in love. God, you are the Lord of all creatures. You're the most powerful of all. Please help me. Everyone asks me to forget about Leili. Please do the opposite. Increase Leili's love in my heart 100 times more. Please take my life and give her all of what is left. Although I'm as sad as night, make her the happiest. Majnun couldn't stop crying when he was saying all that. Sid Amri lost all his hopes. He looked miserable when he returned home. When his friends and relatives asked him how everything went on in Mecca, he complained he prayed for Leili all the time and cursed at himself. Majnun couldn't stay home for long. One night, when everyone was sleeping, he sneaked out of the house for the mountains. The people from Leili's tribe hated Majnun. After all, Majnun was the one who wanted to steal Leili from them. Being jealous, they went to Leili's father and told him that Majnun was going around and reciting poems about Leili and bringing a lot of scandals for the tribe. When Leili's father heard that, he decided to do something about it. So he asked one of his men to go and give Majnun a good lesson. Meanwhile, one of the people in Majnun's tribe found out about this and informed Majnun's father at once. Majnun's father looked for Majnun everywhere and finally found him in a cave, moaning like a sick person. Seeing his father, he got up. "Don't ask me why I'm like this, for you know the answer. I'm ashamed of myself to put you in trouble like this, but it's out of my hand. Please forgive me," said Majnun. Majnun's father was very upset when he saw his son like that. "I wish I were dead, so I would not see you so miserable. What is the good of staying in this dark place and crying all the time? Will it help you be with Leili? Aren't you fed up with all that? Haven't you had enough with all the people scolding and making fun of you? Don't you want to return to life and live like everybody else? Enough is enough, my dear son." Majnun said, "You're right. I wish I could do what you said. I didn't plan all that. I guess it's a part of my destiny to be so unfortunate. I'm a victim of love, but not the only one." The father and the son both cried for a while. Majnun's father again had a long talk with him. Majnun accepted his father's invitation to go back home at last. He stayed home for a few days, but then he lost patience and left home at once for the Najd mountain to be closer to his lover. Leili was so depressed and couldn't wait to see Majnun. She didn't talk to anyone except her own shadow. All she did was listen to the poems written by Majnun that children sang in the streets. At times, she too wrote love poems to Majnun and dropped it in the streets, hoping that someone would pick it up and hand it to him. When she felt really down, she was taken to the garden to take a look at the flowers to cheer her up. She stared at the flowers and then recited sad poems. Once, a rich and famous man from another tribe was passing by the garden when he saw her. He fell in love with her and asked Leili's father for her hand in marriage. Leili's parents told Ibn Salam, the suitor, that Leili was sick and needed some time, but as soon as she recovered, she would be all his.